I'll just start off with a rundown of the voice. Basically, what is being put into the Constitution right now.
Mm-hmm. What they're asking to be put into the Constitution.
What they're asking. It's Chapter 9, Recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Peoples. This is directly from what they want to put in. This is the wording exactly.
Yep.
129, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice in recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first people of Australia. There shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice may take representations to the Parliament and Executive Government of the Commonwealth on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. The Parliament shall, subject to this Constitution, have power to make laws with respect to the matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice, including its composition, functions, powers, and procedures. And that's it. That's the entire voice.
Okay, that seems...
That's the entire details. And you know what? It says it in there. The Parliament shall, subject to this Constitution, have powers to make laws with respect.
Yeah, so if the LNP gets power next election, they can strip it back to bare bones.
But it will still be there.
But there will have to be a voice.
Yeah.
There'll have to be something there. But the thing is that they're advisors. They don't make any decisions.
Yeah, they don't.
And I think it's kind of disrespectful and close-minded of Peter Dutton to say, oh, well, the government hasn't put any framework in place. They haven't said what their laws are going to be or the framework or anything. But the thing is that the point of this is to put the recognition in the Constitution and to put the place in that there is a voice.
Yeah.
And then that's to the sitting government's discretion what the voice is. So every 4 years the voice might change.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to the government's discretion. And I think it's wrong of him to come out and say, oh, they haven't given us enough information, we don't know how the voice will operate, when...
You're the ones that decide.
Yeah, exactly. And like if Parliament says, here's how we want the voice to operate, his opposition can vote it down.
Yeah.
And it might not make it through the Senate.
Exactly.
Right?
And then it will have to take their approval to get through.
Yeah, exactly. So like the thing of saying that they're making a decision for Australians when they don't know when people don't know what they're voting for is really just it's like he's got his head in the gutter. It's like he's under the blanket screaming no.
It 100% is.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's like I've seen that political comic that's like the woman that, like the teacher that's talking to two kids. It's like, no, giving Tommy a voice won't take away your voice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the current campaign that's if you don't know, vote no.
Yeah. It's
like, okay, well, do you want to just be ignorant? Is like that are you happy being ignorant? Are you happy? Because it's not very hard to understand.
It's not very hard to find information because I very easily Googled everything.
They've put pamphlets out like for every household, and the yes vote's pretty strong, and it has one clear, defined message that they want. And you're
the no's, like even the
no's
points
are all over the shop. They don't know what they want.
Even the no pamphlet is a bit.
There's two different points in the pamphlet, isn't it?
There's two opposing points.
Yeah.
So
it's wait, let me guess. There's one that says there's not enough. It's not enough, and there's another that says it's too much.
So it says no issue is beyond its scope, and it says it won't help Indigenous Australians.
Okay.
And I'm like, those are two very opposite. Like either that it's beyond it, everything's beyond its scope, or it doesn't help us Indigenous Australians. Because if Indigenous Australians had the choice to do everything they wanted in the government, then how would it not help Indigenous Australians?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't...
So it's very opposing.
There's also like the national no, like the national parties no, which is the fear-mongering that they're going to control our military and they're going to control spending and everything. It's like, what don't you understand about advisory?
But like the Libs and the Nats are part of the same thing.
Yeah,
and the Liberals' official thing is it won't help Indigenous Australians. We want a legislated voice.
Yeah, but the thing about a
It's like-
legislated voice is that it would have to get through Parliament, which is so hard because at the moment nothing can get through Parliament because
No.
the Greens keep blocking it in the Senate because they're petty bitches.
Yeah.
And so then it won't get through Parliament, and then when LNP get in, because they'll say, "Oh, Labor did nothing," they'll still do nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Like if they say when they come out and say like, "Oh, we want legislated change," it's like you had 10 years.
Yeah.
You had 10 years and you did
Well,
nothing.
If you remember the discussion like,
Nothing.
back in 2021, like the discussion about it before the election was it was going to be bipartisan.
Yeah.
It was going to be a bipartisan agreement, and that was before Dutto became the Liberal Party leader. And Turnbull was someone that wanted it,
Mm.
but he thought it's not going to get passed in this.
Well,
in my time,
they've had 2 Indigenous ministers leave.
Yeah.
Two.
And
And,
then-
now they
and then I had a white guy leave as well.
no. The white guy was the second guy.
Was he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're talking
And-
about
and-
Indigenous ministers. I thought you meant just like Indigenous.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But they now they head Liberals for Yes.
Yeah.
And even the only Liberal premier in Tasmania is campaigning Yes with Anthony Albanese.
Well, all of them are. All of the Liberal state, even the opposition leaders,
Yeah.
like even the one in New South Wales, Victoria, they're all campaigning.
It's like,
For
why are you
yes.
voting? Why? Is it just to be a contrarian? Is it just to say no? Is it just to say, oh, well, fuck Labor?
Well, it's very hard by this point, I think, for Dutton to put an image of I'm not racist.
Yeah. It's like, but like, what I want to know is how much they're paying Mundine. Because every time he gets up and talks,
Mm.
I feel like his heart's not in it. I feel like he's just up there, eyes glazed over.
Yeah, vote
Yeah,
no.
no, because
Mm.
it's racist. We don't want racist policies in the Constitution. It's like, nah, dog. Like, I'm sorry, but how much are they paying you because your heart's not in it?
No,
Like, at least all the others are up there yelling and screaming, and he's just like, nah.
no.
It's
But
like,
also
bro.
most young Australians care about Mundine?
No, people
No.
didn't know his name. Like, young Australians didn't know his name until
Like until this came up,
this came out, and they were
and they
like,
saw him on TikTok, and it's like,
yeah,
who
and
f- is
the
this?
LNP are like, here, let's roll out our token.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not racist. Look,
Well, that's like their current token, the shadow Indigenous minister.
mm,
They brought her out because they were like, she says no,
mm.
and it's like, okay, but what?
Part of me thinks it's hard to say, but part of me thinks that she's like butthurt because she wasn't part of the Uluru Agreement.
But
Because she keeps mentioning it. She's like, I wasn't there. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, you probably had plenty of time to go, but you just
probably
didn't.
did. Yeah.
But like, and she's like, I wasn't there, so it's not representative of all. And it's like, bro, I can't run for election because I'm too poor, but it doesn't mean that I don't vote for a representative because they don't represent all. Like, that just doesn't make
Exactly.
sense. Like,
No.
and like, they haven't even said how they're going to structure the representatives, if it's going to be like elections or they're going to be community members or.
I would hope that it would involve like different representatives, like
From
the
different areas
different
of
areas,
the different states. Like,
or the different countries and the different nations.
yeah, like you can't have one from every nation because there's so many, but you can have
You could have multiple.
areas.
Yeah.
Like if we have one representative for each electorate, maybe we could have one representative for each electorate.
Like fuck, we have 12 fucking senators each state. Every state.
yeah, like
Tasmania, a population of 500,000, has 12 fucking senators,
Yeah,
the same as every other fucking state.
like they could easily do something like
They
that.
could easily.
And then like they're like representative of their state, or bigger states get more. But that's up to the government to decide.
Exactly.
But yeah, part of me, not to sound like it, but part of me is like, she's like a pick me girl.
Yeah, 100%.
She's like, but I wasn't there, so it's not representative of me.
Well, she used to be a performer, like a rapper. She
Mm.
failed as that. And it's kind of like, okay, so you want to do something else and then bring other people down.
Yeah,
Righto.
kind of, but yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
But
But-
then, like, so I can understand Indigenous Australians that say no because they come from a place of distrust from the government.
Yeah, 100%.
Like 100% there is Indigenous Australians that do disagree with it, and they say it's either not enough, which is fair enough because they want more.
yeah,
That's fine enough to have a progressive opinion about it, and that's why you vote no. And The other no is have a massive distrust of the government
Yeah, which
And
is
that
completely
is completely
understandable.
founded.
100%.
in reality. So at the end of the day, the no's that come from any European or anybody that isn't Indigenous Australian doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make sense to you,
It doesn't make sense.
but like, would it make sense to them?
Because at the end of the day, the Indigenous population is being offered this. If they say no, then that's up to them.
Yeah.
If you are of any other descent and they're I think there was an MP, he immigrated to Australia
Mm.
and he was saying I moved to Australia because I wanted all races to be equal.
Equal. Funny.
And he's campaigning for a vote no. And I think he's next to the electorate of Redfern. And it's like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, it does. It doesn't make sense in the fact that it's like, why? The reason we need a voice is because Parliament is inherently white, and it
Doesn't
doesn't
look
rep-
after Indigenous issues because that's not on their mind.
yeah, and it doesn't represent our communities. Like, really, if you were to have a fair government, you'd have a representative from each community, not from each electorate. But
Exactly.
the idea that an Indigenous person who's been pushed down their whole life, hasn't had a lot of opportunity, could just get the funds and the popularity and everything to run for government is hard enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, yes, there are Indigenous ministers, and yes, it does happen. But the thing is like, they don't have, not a lot of them have generational wealth.
No.
Not a lot of them have security for home, security for housing.
No, exactly.
You know, and it's purely from colonization and oppression and racist laws and white Australia policy and everything that we've done to them. And like, it's sad to see people just be like, oh, why don't they just, get elected if they want to say.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, like, even as like
people try that.
yeah, people
people try
try,
that.
but then they won't get voted for because they don't have the money, they don't have the push, they don't have the backing.
No.
And it's partly the party's faults. It's like the parties get to pick who's running in that electorate, right?
Yeah.
And it's partly their fault because they're not picking more diverse people for their
But then
area.
also at the same
But the
time,
thing is they've got to pick the person that's going to get voted for.
people don't really care like who they vote for.
Mm.
Like they just go, okay, it's this party.
Yeah, I'll vote Labor because LNP is
Like-
shit. Oh, Labor being shit, I'll vote LNP.
I doubt a majority of the population in Ipswich actually know their representative's name.
Shane Newman.
I knew it was Shane. I thought it was like
Bald boy himself.
Yeah, exactly. But like he's been the representative for how long now?
For ages.
Is there been no one else?
They keep trying to get against him. Like the Greens lady keeps coming back. But like,
I know they change the Liberal guy every now and then.
yeah. But you got
It's
to
always a-
remember,
it seems to always be a
it's
guy.
like Ipswich is a very low income Labor area. Like where like there's no fancy hoity-toities running around.
No.
But the thing is the more low income it becomes, the higher chance of LNP votes.
Yeah.
So I was reading a study the other day, and it says our lower income people in Australia, lower income, lower educated, generally vote LNP.
Yeah.
Your higher income, higher income, generally vote Greens, mostly women. And your middle income, working class, lower working class, mostly men, vote Labor.
Yeah.
So if in general, it was kind of like, if you're poor and uneducated, you'll generally vote LNP. If you're lower middle class, lower class, working class, and male, you'll vote Labor.
Which is
Female will vote Greens, and then higher class, older, generally vote LNP, but higher class,
yeah.
younger vote Greens.
Yeah.
And it's like, as you fall into different demographic brackets, you get different ideals and different ways people vote. So like if you have more money, right, you worry less about things.
Yeah, exactly.
You worry more about little things. So like that's the thing, is like, you might worry more about how someone else identifies rather than how the fuck am I going to get rent this week.
Yeah, exactly.
So then when the Greens come out and they're spouting all this gender stuff, which is true and real, but a lot of people just don't have time for it.
They don't have time for it.
You're more likely to pick up on that and be like, I'm going to vote for the woke party. I'm going to vote for the Green Party, like the party of evidence.
Yeah.
And then if you're worrying more about that stuff, and Labor comes out and they say, hey, we're going to raise the raise the minimum income.
Yeah.
We're going to raise this. We're going to do better for workers. All this. You're like, fuck yeah, I'm voting for them.
Yep.
And then
I don't know what the point of voting Liberal is.
the LNP come out and they say, hey, look, we're going to protect your assets and
keep everything the same.
Keep everything the same, and everyone's going to have to go to church.
Yeah.
And you're like, hell yeah.
I have a right to religiously persecute, and I can be racist whenever I want.
Yeah, and then just say not to be racist, but
yeah, exactly.
They all say it. They all say it. Like go into the nursing home to visit my pop. They all go, not to be racist, but I was like, oh, brother, just if you start a sentence with that, just
don't say it.
Yeah.
Anyway, being that what it may, we'll lay out the yes points and the no points right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes points. Number 1, this idea came directly from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, which isn't wrong. Number 2, constitutional recognition for concrete results.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
3, ensure people have a better life.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. 4, bring our country together, which is weird because it's like LNP is like it divides us.
Together we stand.
Exactly. 5, save money. I didn't understand this point. I was like, you guys don't take advice anyway. I don't think you should have put that point in.
Yeah.
I think they were just looking for a number 5, to be honest.
Yeah, they're like 5.5 reasons why. Maybe they should have done 14 reasons why and then killed themselves at the end of it.
Exactly, right? Number 6, the time is now.
Yeah.
The time is now.
Well, I mean, the time was fucking 50 years ago.
Yeah, fucking oath.
When every other country on the planet did it.
Every other country did it.
Everyone else has a fucking
voice to parliament
in their own way.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, they could totally base it off of, like, some of the Nordic countries and stuff that do that with their indigenous population. Like, it's not...
Or the one across the lake.
Yeah, the one from New Zealand. Like, it's not fucking hard.
Which
like,
now has a treaty.
Very simple. Very simple.
Very simple.
Copy pasta.
Yeah. Number 7, practical advice that works.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8, making government work better.
Mm-hmm.
Which everybody wants.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it. 8 points. And there are 10 points. And I remember reading the pamphlet and it's like, these are the 10 no points.
Oh, they got 10.
They got 10.
Is it 5 each side?
No, it's just, it just lays it out. Like,
okay.
literally the digital pamphlet, because I didn't want to walk to my mailbox. It was like, they were side by side and it was like, okay, why? Number 1, the voice is legally risky.
Legally risky.
I don't know what they mean by that. Because remember there was a point where they're like, oh, let's take this to the high... They're going to do so many high court matters.
There's this thing that if something's racially stated in the Constitution, it can be taken to the High Court or some bullshit.
Mm.
And I don't understand...
What this has to do with the voice?
I don't understand who's going to sue over this.
White people.
But for what? What are you going to sue them for?
I don't know. Something.
Are you going to sue them for a blood test?
Yeah, blood quantum.
Are the LNP going to bring back the colour charts?
Yeah,
and they're going to hold your skin up, and they're going to be like, "Oh, I don't think so."
You get a blood quantum, and it's going to say what caste you are in your fucking birth certificate.
Well, it'll be like, "Wow, he's 1/8. Like, he doesn't get to join the voice."
Exactly. Number 2, there are no details.
Already covered that.
Number 3, it divides us.
How?
Doesn't say. It says it will have race in the Constitution.
Every other country has race in their Constitution.
Every other does, yeah.
Well, some have race in their Constitution in a racist way.
But also some have to do it because in the past they didn't give a shit.
It's crazy. It's like Indigenous people weren't recognised as human beings till recently. Like crazy.
This will be the referendum
that
actually acknowledges them as people.
as human beings.
We didn't have that before.
Yeah,
So this
but
is,
like,
this
but like
is
they
another-
they weren't citizens. They didn't have the right to vote. They didn't have the right to do anything.
No.
And it's like, okay, well, yeah, they're people, but like we don't want to say they're people.
And technically in the Constitution, that's still another thing.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
Anyway, number 4, it won't help Indigenous Australians.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one to prove.
This is right next to it. Number 5, no issue is beyond its scope.
Okay, so
No issue is beyond its
by
scope.
that meaning, I think what they're trying to get at is, so because there's Indigenous Australians in the military, they will be able to advise us on who to attack in the military. Be like, I think it would be beneficial if all Indigenous military members attack China.
Should just sell all our helicopters.
But the thing is like they can 100% say that to the government. They can be like, hey, I think we should invade China. And you know what the government can say?
No.
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 Because it's an advisory committee.
Exactly. 6, it risks delays and dysfunction.
For what?
I don't know. I think it's the same thing. It's like
risks, delays, and dysfunction. Is that because like you might write a bill and then be like, maybe I'll run this by the advisory committee to make sure that there's nothing that's negatively affecting Indigenous Australians? Which I mean is
already run it through different.
Yeah, but is a good process anyways. It's like you probably run things past lawyers. Like we pay lawyers, we pay consultancy firms billions of dollars a year
right now.
So I mean, wouldn't it just be a consultancy firm that's internal?
It's like, hey, bro, this one's free.
Yeah, this one's internal. Like we don't have to pay some rich white dude.
Save money. There you go.
Cheap.
Okay, it opens the doors for activists. They're already in Parliament. Isn't one of our senators already? Isn't one of the no campaign senators already an activist? Yeah. They're all
Jacinta Price?
Yeah. Jacinta Price, Lydia Thorpe.
Lydia Thorpe, who I was thinking about. She tackled a lady.
No, that's another one.
I'm pretty sure it was Lydia Thorpe tackled the anti-trans woman.
Did Lydia Thorpe tackle that lady?
Or she, like, got up in her face or whatever. Like,
tackle.
Opens the door to activists.
Oh, she was tackled. Yes.
Yeah,
she was tackled by police after yelling at her. Yeah, after yelling at her.
Yeah, well, she didn't do the tackling. She got tackled, but she was being an activist.
Yeah, she was.
So, I mean, they're already here.
Yep. 100%.
They're already here, buddy.
It will be costly and bureaucratic.
No.
This voice will be permanent. Yep, that's the idea.
Yep, that's
the idea.
But then you can get into power. If you somehow win, you can get into power and you can strip it down to one person. It could be one dude sitting in the dark that you'd be like, hey, you still here? Fuck you.
100%.
You have to be here. Fuck you.
Exactly.
Like you can literally just do that. That's easy.
Or
easy peasy.
The body could be of, how they pay people to do it again. That might be the body.
You could pay consultants. It's like paying a consultancy firm.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
There are better ways forward.
Suggest one that you didn't do in 10 years.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like when they came to the election, they said, hey, we're going to go renewable. We'll put in nuclear. It's like, dog, you had 10 years.
You had 10 years.
You've had 10 years. You didn't say a fucking word.
And I think they said it would take like 50 years for a nuclear station to be profitable.
Yeah, exactly. So, nah.
No. But anyway, to kind of like, I don't know, like
summarize it,
like they're racist, and they have no good points to really.
Well, I think we can circle back to what I said about LNP voters is that they're poor and uneducated.
Exactly.
And hey, look, I'm poor too. I'm very poor, and people would say I'm very uneducated, but I at least understand
the Indigenous voice to Parliament.
Yeah, I at least understand that because it's pretty fucking simple.
Well, it says like 80 to 90% of Indigenous Australians support it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're like, oh, it doesn't represent everybody, but it is quite a majority. Like,
I think it's funny.
Okay, you can get voted in on 60%. Does that mean you should care about the 40%?
I think it's funny that they keep showing these polls that the yes vote keeps losing traction. And it's like, who are you polling? You going to nursing homes? And then they were interviewing people on the street, and everyone who got interviewed on the street happened to just be over the age of 50 and white.
It's because they're the only ones that go outside.
And I was like, good luck. But here's the
If
thing,
you go to
though.
a shopping centre,
I get a
you're
phone.
going to get fucking old people.
I get a phone call for a survey, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, no. I
It's
don't
like
have
no
time for
one pay me.
that. Yeah, pay me.
But like the thing is they go, 46%, and you go, okay, well you polled fucking 100 people, like you got a racist patch.
100%.
Like, who cares?
Yeah, so basically, vote for the voice if you believe that Indigenous Australians should be recognised in the Constitution, should have an advisory body in Parliament.
Have a say.
That makes recommendations to Parliament, that things that affect Indigenous Australians.
It's like when you suggest something to your dad, but, you know, sometimes he listens, sometimes he doesn't. Most of the time, he'll take your idea and claim it as his own.
Exactly. And then vote no because you don't want those things?
I guess so. And just remember, make sure you write English and you write yes and you write no.
Yeah.
Ticks and crosses are not what our country is founded on.
Yeah, 100%.